It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherbert.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
All right, welcome in. This is Inside the Gamecocks, the show. I'm J.C. Sherbert. He is Phil Mullinax. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Got the mental edge with Sawyer Nix coming up today. Got a lot to talk to him about. But first, some breaking news, Phil.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to have to wait for game day this week. So because of Hurricane Ian, South Carolina State, they've decided to move the game to a Thursday night kickoff. The game will kick off at 7 at Williams-Brice Stadium between the Gamecocks and Bulldogs. I have mixed feelings about this, Phil, because I'm one of these old school guys that's like, well, if it's just raining, you need to play. You need to play football, and then in bad weather. But I did notice on one of the forecasters 40 to 60 mile an hour gusts. That could be dangerous, I think, in a tailgating type of situation.
Yeah, you got to figure that, and maybe lightning or something as well. So
yeah, tents flying everywhere, stuff like that. So probably best to have it Thursday night. All things considered, with the wind and rain. Of course, I don't know what Clemson's going to do this week. They got game day in town. They got a night game against NC State the Saturday night, and the forecasts say that this thing's going to be over the top of GSP in the orange fog, as you call it, right around that time. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all sets up. But South Carolina is definitely moving the game to Thursday night. I think this. Despite my mixed emotions about it, I think it's best for the team. Go ahead and get it out of the way as long as you're prepared. Go play it and then rest up for Kentucky in a couple of days. You get a couple extra days rest to heal up. Gamecocks are sort of a beat-up football team right now, so that's kind of the thing there.
Yeah. And I'd much rather a reschedule than a cancellation, especially for you should chalk up for a win.
Yeah. You may be sitting at 5-6 at the end of the year. and you need to kind of find a game like they did with Akron a couple of years ago. That game went over like a lead balloon. But anyway, I think for this team right now, it's they just had their best half of football of the year, second half against Charlotte. You get right back out there and you go play. People would say, well, that's only 5 days rest or whatever. Well, that's going to happen probably in 2025. Gamecocks played Virginia Tech and Atlanta, I think, on Sunday or Monday night. I think it's Sunday of Labor Day in the Chick-fil-A kickoff. And then they turn around and play App State. Gulp. At home.
Why?
Hey, that App State series, man, I don't know.
I know it's long-standing. It's been pushed back.
Yeah,
but I just cancel the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like this was probably scheduled when App was making their transition to FBS, and they're like, they won't be that good then. Well, little do we know. But hey, look, you got to do it. I remember the Tigers, Clemson, in 2015. That was the year I think they first played for their national championship. They opened the season with Wofford and App State back to back. I mean, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? Yeah, they went out and took care of business. So, that was you can't be scared. You got to go play. But that's not until 2025. We don't have to worry about that now. Got to worry about getting ready for South Carolina State. Hope nothing terrible happens Thursday night. Get out there, play. Hopefully no injuries. Hopefully the weather Thursday may not be ideal either. But
that might just be the rain and whatnot that you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean,
who knows?
So that game, the TV announcement's coming later today. So I'd be shocked if it wasn't on some sort of TV. It may end up being ESPN Plus, like the Georgia State game was, or just streaming, or it may be, maybe ESPNU, maybe the Deuce. Who knows? SEC Network doesn't have anything on during that time, so it's probably SEC Network is my guess. But that announcement's coming later today, along with Shane Beamer's weekly press conference. Everything kind of gets pushed back. I don't know what about Carolina calls. I don't know what they're going to do about that. I'll say this one programming note for me. The Spurs Up show, I'm usually on at 1:15 Eastern Thursday. I will be on at 10:15 Eastern Thursday. For the old Spurs Up show. So I'll be on with Chris before his segment with us. And that's fine. Thursday's going to kind of be a, pregame show kind of vibe here. We won't have a show on Friday. We're going to take that day off just because it's Friday. The Gamecocks play on Thursday. And everybody deserves a long weekend every now and then, right?
Yeah, that's right. We'll take another one.
One more programming note tomorrow. Going to cut tomorrow's show a little bit short, 30 minutes short. Yep. Just some conflicts with scheduling and some things like that we got to take care of. All right, Nana's Porch Chat Box is always bumping, and we always like to get to that first and foremost. Sean said, "Good morning, all. Game being moved is interesting." I agree. I don't know exactly what went into the decision. It's kind of weird because Carolina's this is the fourth game they've had either canceled or moved. Starting in 2015 was Spurrier's last game. LSU was supposed to come to Columbia. The Gamecocks went to Baton Rouge instead. And it's kind of weird. The last two times they've been to Baton Rouge, Phil, which you normally face a raucous crowd of people that throw ham sandwiches at you and eat gumbo and drink brown liquor. I was riding the Bourbon down here, kind of a half crowd in 2015 when they played. And then the next time they went, that was pandemic year, 2020. So not a big crowd at all.
Yeah.
Just kind of an interesting thing. LSU won both games handily, badly. But hey, you never know with that. But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. So that got moved. 2016 Georgia game got pushed until Sunday afternoon. I'm sure that was under consideration here, but hey, it's SC State's just coming right up the road, right?
Yeah.
And they're probably ready to get it out of the way. They probably don't want a Sunday game against an opponent that's going to be more physical than them, and then they have to get ready for their next game. So that's probably what the deal is with that. But then in 2018, the Marshall game got canceled. Yep. Because of a hurricane. That was a little bit, I don't know. I remember sitting there that day going, the weather's fine. You know,
I remember that as well.
They could have played, dude.
Tracked a different way or something, and
they're worried about
they thought. Yeah,
Marshall getting to town or whatever. Of course, the Gamecocks scheduled Akron and played the Mighty Zips at the end of the year, and then this one. So that tends to happen frequently. It doesn't happen as much as it happens at Florida, but it does happen at South Carolina a lot. So pretty interesting there. But I do think this one. Whereas the rest of them, I kind of shook my head a little bit, especially the Marshall cancellation. Didn't shake my head with the flooding. That was awful.
That was bad.
That was bad. I mean, people lost their lives, and Columbia was underwater. It was awful. But the 2016 move for Georgia, that was another one of those where that night, because it was supposed to be a night game the night before, you're like, well, they could have played this one. And then the Marshall game. But this sits a little bit better with me. Maybe it's because I'm just impatient and probably would enjoy watching Carolina Thursday and then relaxing all weekend and watching the other teams without any pressure or stress.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's cool there. Jared says, good morning, Gamecocks. Rocking my Abe Froman shirt today. Sausage King.
Bueller.
Sean goes, so I have been thinking a lot about Sat. To me, he's like a teacher. He can evaluate talent and teach talent, but just because he is an OC doesn't mean he needs to be one, just like a teacher. And I get it. Like some are teachers and some are teachers and no football, and they coach at the high school level. And that doesn't necessarily mean, I don't know. I don't know how to compare that really. But I think you're kind of spot on. Joey Sox, morning guys. Do you think the game being moved is a positive or negative for USC? The short term isn't ideal, but now we have more time to focus on the huge road game at Kentucky. Thoughts? Yeah, Joey, I think it's positive. Phil, you chime in here if you want. Just because the Gamecocks are banged up, you got some guys that were nursing injuries or whatever. I don't know if it'll help with the extra rest getting people back. But I think anytime you go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, you could only figure the extra time's going to help. Gives the offensive staff more time to game plan, which seems to benefit them.
Yeah, it does. That extra couple of days, that could mean the difference between a stinker and not a stinker. So,
yeah, but unfortunately, you're playing an opponent that you're not going to need 10 days rest to play anyway. Love Buddy Pugh and what he's done in South Carolina State, but we should be more physical, and there's a lot more talent at South Carolina, so don't mind moving it up a couple of days. And if I think just the health of the team is the most important thing. If it gives them extra days to get fully healthy to get back into SEC play, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, and then you think too, Phil, you got rest, and so you get 10 days rest or so, and you go play Kentucky, and then you got the open date after Kentucky before A&M comes in. So that's probably a nice little break, mid-season, all told. Lady Bree says, I like more time to heal up and prepare for Kentucky, less time dwelling on what happens in our FCS matchup that only kind of matters. It matters and it doesn't. They all matter, but yeah, you go thing here. Quantrell says, Thursday night football and Willie B. I'm with it. Sean says, just because they know the subject doesn't mean they know how to relate it to students. I think, I worry about the teaching aspect of it, like in terms of how they're teaching it, because it has seemed kind of complicated. This season's problems, though, to me, have been more in-game. Yeah. And that requires feel. And I think it was hard to tell last year, Phil, in a lot of ways about the down-to-down play calling and stuff like that, because you're just kind of shorthanded. Now, personnel usage and things like that, yeah, why did Jaheim Bell and Juju McDowell disappear for long stretches at a time? Those are all good questions. Why, quite frankly, in hindsight, Joyner could have played more quarterback. Jason Brown really had the most success if you get down to it. I think those were all fair questions, but it was hard to tell down-to-down play calling. But, you kind of get to this point, and it's like, well, we're 17 games in, and unless South Carolina is just running up, around, through, and over the opponent, this offense goes nowhere. And it's not realistic in the SEC that you can line up and do that. So that's the concern. And that's why last week I was talking about balance, a whole lot. You gotta have balance. Doc says, good morning. Lady Bree MMA comes back and says, let's get back right. Let's bash Satterfield in the comments. Give the guy time. I mean, we'll see. I'm not. We'll just see what happens with that. Doc says he's not going to make the game now. That's unfortunate for those that can't make it Thursday. I feel bad for you.
Yeah, there are going to be some holes in the seats. It won't be a packed house on Thursday.
Yeah, it won't. Chasey says Satterfield gets 3 extra days to prepare for you. Okay, Wildcats better look out. We might actually have a good game plan.
Extra time is always benefited him in the game plan situation.
Yeah. Will says right move. Silly to have emergency personnel at a football game with a hurricane coming in. That's kind of the bottom line with everything and why these decisions are made. Doc says this far out, things are rarely correct with forecast. I agree. Yeah. Austin says, I've seen tents fly into cars with 10-mile-an-hour winds. 60 miles would be deadly. That's the problem, too. Think about this. What if a charcoal grill gets caught up in the wind? Yeah, and you take hot coal embers to the face. That could
like
really,
an Allstate commercial.
Yeah, that happened to me. I'd lose my cover guy status, because it had burns all over. And anyway, Jan says, does technically one additional day on the practice field make a huge difference in any advantage we may gain against Kentucky? Friday will be a day of rest and film from watching the SU game. I think, Jan, the rest is what's important. I don't know that there's any extra practice time. They really kind of have their practice schedule down during the season. They just move things back and things like that. But, getting rest, getting healthy, getting fresh, that kind of thing. And Jan adds that's the most beneficial. Colin says, happy Tuesday, Gamecocks. Interested to see what happens with Clemson and College game day if they're getting hit by this weather.
I've been trying to think of inclement weather game day situations. I don't know. I mean, they ever reschedule them?
I can remember it raining.
Yeah,
game day.
I remember rain and other normal factors, but never hurricane force it won't be hurricane force by the time it gets up here. It'll be tropical storm or.
Yeah, maybe not even that much. Mm-hmm. I know Clemson played Notre Dame was game day there that day. They played Notre Dame, the bring your own guts game or whatever.
I don't remember.
I was living in Greenville. I remember watching the game and it was pouring down rain. I mean, I think they did have it there. I think they did have it, and I think that was the flood. That was the flood because Carolina played LSU. Gamecock and on.
Built by the Home Depot, so they should be able to put a roof on that bad boy.
Put a roof on it, man. We're the little Home Depot guys, the cartoons that used to with the hammer. They don't have those anymore. Maybe they're not PC. Who knows? Gamecock and on. What did you think of the broadcast last Saturday? In my opinion, it sucked. Why can't they just move the radio guys into the booth for a game like that, similar to baseball? Football is a different animal with regards to ESPN and the SEC network. Look, I'm not going to defend it. I kind of said it wasn't all that bad yesterday. Apparently, I wasn't paying close attention to the production value. And so
I wasn't impressed with the team calling the game either, but I mean, you're not always going to get winners there. So.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I stand corrected. It's not SEC, it was ESPNU. And ESPNU gets kind of the bottom of the barrel in terms of selection. Now occasionally my guy Mike Morgan will get an ESPNU game, and he's fantastic. But sometimes you don't get Mike Morgan, as we all know.
That's right. But a lot of those games look like you're watching a high school, through a local TV affiliate.
The Wayne's World broadcast. Cody on Wayne. Yeah, first down, Macandino says we get extra days to prepare for UK. Lady Bree agrees it sucked. Will says Jefferson Pilot put on a better broadcast in 02 than ESPNU did Saturday. Look, man, I miss the Jefferson Pilot games with Dave Neal.
Yeah, man.
And Andre Ware. Dave Neal would get all fired up. He's still around, SEC Network. I think he gets the noon kickoff sometimes. And Andre Ware, I think, is with another network. We had him on JC and Morgan this summer. So, who knows? Colin says in 2025, he wouldn't mind getting revenge on the Appies Mountaineers for Muschamp's collapse game. That was a sad game.
Yeah.
Because South Carolina held their offense to 202 yards and lost.
And lost the game.
That was a sad year. Because there was sadness at the beginning, losing to North Carolina and Missouri, 2 games they absolutely should not have lost. And then they come back and beat Kentucky for the only time in however many years and beat Georgia on the road. And then that Florida game got away from them thanks in no small part to the Southeastern Conference officials that missed the most egregious holding call I've ever seen in my life. So they lost that. That was sad. And then Tennessee was even sadder. Second half, the Vols boat raced the Gamecocks. And then you lose to App State, and then Clemson and Texas A&M just weren't even competitive. Bad. Sad year. If yakking on about football is a job, hi, JC. It is I get paid. Colton says, I hope we see some Lavoisier Carroll at running back Thursday. I would have liked to have seen him in the game the other night. I think
when they go 4, they always put in
Dante
little turbo.
But I can explain this in certain ways. Christian Bill Smith hasn't played a whole lot this year, so you kind of want him to get lathered up. You got Juju and Marshawn taking, their carries, but I'm with you. I'd like to see Lavoisier Carroll. He's only going to get better at running back by playing in the game. I didn't see a problem with it, but maybe they were trying to run Bill Smith a little more just to get him lathered up a bit.
Yeah, from coming off injury and getting some usage. I don't know. But it takes us to the Twitter question, though. Nice segue into that you put up today, the Twitter poll.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, CBS going to get over or under 100 yards this week.
Mm-hmm.
I went with under because I think, we're going to showcase the passing game this week. We showcased the running game last week. It'll be passing game this week, and then we'll all pray that we put it all together for Kentucky.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and that was just kind of a question because before the game got rescheduled. I was like, well, Bill Smith now carries 55 yards, couple of touchdowns, right? Couple touchdowns.
At least
blocks really well, very physical. I think he can help this team, especially like in the pass game where he's pass protecting and stuff. So I'm sitting there thinking, wow, they may feed him a little more Saturday, but on Thursday night now. And so I was like, well, there's a chance, if they go running the ball, I think there's a chance. By the way, on Twitter, shout out to Brad Crawford, one of our guests. He just re-signed a contract with 24/7 Sports. So glad to keep Brad as part of it. Quantrell says Jefferson Pilot needs to be brought back. As a kid, I loved hearing the intro music. Yeah, I like that too. Mm-hmm. What's going to be really sad is you're going to hear the CBS intro music, which is probably the best intro music in college football. As the Big Ten game of the week, and even not even the first.
No, Purdue and Rutgers.
All right, let's do it. A big old UCLA Northwestern game.
Yeah, that's right.
Illinois versus Minnesota. Don't know about all that. Colin says that was the worst part of the Charlotte game. I wanted to watch A&M versus Arkansas and Ohio State since our game was not competitive. This week is perfect for me as a fan. I enjoy doing that too. I used to love the openers on Labor Day weekend on Thursdays because I could just chill for opening weekend and I just love it.
Yeah, I do. I miss not being in that Thursday night opening game.
Yeah. Maybe go to the beach or something. I mean, the weather's still nice. So, Alex says in the first 3 games, the problem was more about mentality, no mean streak. Our guys haven't wanted to hit you and put you on where the good Lord split you. It's hard to say. I mean, Yeah, they got physically overwhelmed, I think, against Arkansas and Georgia. I think Georgia State, the defense at least, was physical during the middle part of that contest. And then, it's just been very uneven. The Charlotte game, I thought second half, the defense went out and attacked. They took some risks. They got after it. It's like I don't know what was said at halftime, but whatever it was worked, because they came out and imposed their will. So, who knows? Doc says have to have balance to read the defense. 6 are in the box, pass 3 to 4 down low. See, okay, yeah, that's kind of the basics for RPOs. Krager says 5-6 different times. He's probably not too happy. His enter button got stuck. Joey says, could you see Carolina resting any starters because of the quick turnaround? I could at least see starters sitting after halftime if we have a decent lead. Yeah, it just depends on what the score of the game is and all that. Matt says, see way too many similarities with Sat to Rule up in Charlotte. Matt Rule is 1-24 when allowing more than 17 points. Sat is similar in the fact we can't score enough to keep up. Well, look, he was with Matt Rule in Charlotte for 1 year. Matt Rule, I don't care what he does in the NFL, and I know some of you Panthers fans don't like him. I don't care what he does in the NFL. That has nothing to do with what he can do as a college coach. And he's proven to be great. But, Marcus Satterfield wasn't his OC at Baylor. He was a OC at Temple. But that was that. Jan says it'll be the spring game crowd. I hope SC State's band is there. That'll be an additional 101. The marching 101. Somebody check on Craig. He short-circuited. Blah, blah. Andrew, my boy Andrew Power. In the first 3 games, Sat ran essentially 3-run plays, duo, inside and outside zone. Duo is what they run over 50% of the time. He runs very little power, counter, trap, or zone read. He actually, Andrew, they ran a lot more of the counter play against
this past weekend.
Yeah, Beamer said it was counter and inside zone is what they did. But I would like to see more, duo is essentially power, but I'd like to see more line up and smash you. And I like the counter play. I think counter play works well with the backs. It's been pretty successful. He ran counter 3 times in the first 3 games. Lady says, I'm pretty sure that's incorrect, but if you have the stats on that, share. Andrew knows, man, he played the game at the highest level. Panthers need a quarterback. Baker isn't accurate at all. And he used to be. So sad. I don't care about the Panthers. I mean, you Panthers fans can be fine. So, all right, Nana Sports chat box. Got a lot of iHealth Consulting mailbag coming up. Some people have jumped in on that. Remember, inside the Gamecocks at gmail.com or tweet to @theBigSpurPod. So I got all the housekeeping done. As Phil mentioned, the poll. Will Christian Bill Smith rush for over 100 against SC State? So far, I think the no's have it about 60%. I'm going to check on that real quick. At least on, no's 58%. Yes, 41% on Twitter, on the Big Spur. I don't know. I think it's about the same. So here we go. And then one person says no, but Marshawn Lloyd will. 66-33. So not a lot of faith in CBS going over 100 against the Bulldogs of South Carolina State. We'll see what happens with that. All right. It's Tuesday, and we didn't get to it last week, so we're to it this week. The Mental Edge with Sawyer Nix is coming up right after these messages. This is the show, Inside the Gamecocks with JC and Phil. We'll be right back.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're a listener, you know I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter, at @MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox!
Thank you, Braylon, and welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, sponsored by Manscaped, of course. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGSPUR at manscaped.com. The first hour of the show is brought to you by Cindy Searfoss Realty, Coldwell Banker Kane, here in the upstate, based out of Spartanburg. Give Cindy a call for all your upstate residential real estate needs, 864-414-5271. And we're joined on the McKellar Enterprises guest line by none other than Sawyer Nix. Good morning, Sawyer. How you doing? Time for some mental edge. Hey, we missed you last week.
Yeah. I'm glad that things are back to usual. So,
well, sort of.
The
game gets moved today. That was interesting.
At least with the show, it's back to normal. How about that?
That's right.
That's interesting. Well, Sawyer, so we talk sometimes about the mental impact on players of sudden change, and Beamer's kind of preach this, that, he kind of likes to expose them to different types of adversity and things, because in a football game, it's never going to go you can't simulate what actually happens. This is kind of a, abrupt change, here 2 days before they're supposed to play. So they're supposed to go out there and play quicker. So how do you approach that from a mental standpoint if you're a player, and also if you're the coaches trying to kind of get these guys to adjust quickly?
Right. Well, usually by this time, game plan's already set, and they're just kind of working through, all right, here's the plays that we need to brush up on. Here are the things we were going to try this week that's maybe a little different schematically compared to other weeks. Well, fortunately for the Gamecocks, we have South Carolina State. We don't have a different team, a SEC opponent, or either a Clemson or a very challenging non-conference opponent. I'll say that. So I think it's a little bit easier in the fact, okay, well, we're just going to rep all of our base plays this week versus South Carolina State, and we're probably not going to throw a whole lot of extra wrinkles. At least that's my thought. Now, sometimes our coaching staff, what I'm thinking and what they're thinking are the opposite directions, but I'm kind of leaning towards, okay, this is a week to really get your offense going with their base plays, whether it's run or passes. You're keeping it simple. You're just trying to build on the confidence that you had last week, individually and collectively as a team, as offense, as defense, special teams. And they're trying to build on that and be flexible. And I think for the players, I think it's a little bit easier because everything is done for them. I'm thinking about when I found out today they're moving the game, my mind is, okay, I'm going to the game. My son turned 6 a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm taking Timothy to his first South Carolina football game. Well, we're thinking Saturday. Now it's like, okay, I need to get Timothy out of school on Thursday at lunchtime. Oh, does he have a doctor's appointment? Something better. So anyway, trying to figure that out. How do you get him out of school? Do we drive back that night? Do we stay at my in-laws in Columbia? All of those things. Does he miss half a day on Thursday and Friday? Probably not, the best ideal situation, and certainly want to get back and beats whatever may come on Friday as well. So got to navigate those things. Easier. What am I going to eat? What am I going to fix? I got to change that up. Versus the players, everything's done for them. The bus is there, the food's there. They just have to quickly adjust those one or two things, but they don't have to think or plan as much because they have people telling them what to do. Okay, we're just doing this. This is this. That's that. Oh, okay, yes, sir. And that's kind of one of the things that makes it a little bit easier for the players. Is again, they're trying to focus more on base play this week. And also they have the leadership telling them, go here, be here, do this. And they don't have to adjust as much. Now, certainly they do because it's a Thursday game versus a Saturday game. But I think it's, hey, we're just going to shorten our practices, make sure we're getting focused on the keys of the week for the game plan. We're going to talk about those more, maybe walk through more, and we're going to have less time to prep anything else. So.
Talking with Sawyer Nix, the Mental Edge, every Tuesday at 11:30 Eastern Time. Certainly glad to talk with him. Well, we talked last week. We didn't talk to you last week, Sawyer, about the Get Right game. Right. I think sometimes fans and maybe even analysts too, to a certain extent, that they sit there and look at it. Well, it's Charlotte. It doesn't matter. I think for players and coaches, it's a different story. I think that you're struggling and you go out there and you struggled in the first half, but then you kind of, for the first time all season, the Gamecocks, I thought Saturday put it all together on both sides of the ball in the second half. Sometimes I think that can give you a mental edge,
yes,
if you will, because it's about confidence and remembering the muscle memory, the memory, the emotional memory, the focus. You kind of remembered, okay, this is how I did this. This is how it works. It may be as simple as, the fundamentals came back or whatever. And I've seen many teams, catch fire like that against lesser opponents, and it helps them moving forward. What say you?
Yes, I agree. I mean, you think about Marshawn Lloyd hurdling the defender. It's like, that's the Marshawn we know and we want to see. We know it's in him. We just haven't seen it. Now, is that because of him? Is that because of play calling? Is that because of offensive line? Those are all debatable topics, but the fact is we haven't seen that, and now we have that game where, yes. And then everybody's excited. The offensive line is like, man, he can do these things if we just do a little bit more. And Marshawn's like, hey, if I get free, I'm going to the house. The coordinators are, okay, now we got a few plays that maybe are a little bit more simpler. They're not having to think. They can just go out there and do the play, not have to overreact and overanalyze. It's not complex. It's not out of left field. It's not some random formation that's never repped. It's something that they do all the time. But to see that on film, same thing when players are being evaluated. When I don't watch much film of recruits, but when you see them, I don't look at them and say, oh, well, the other team's not very good. You just look at this guy streaking down the sideline or pushing people over or pancaking people or making sacks. That's what you look at. And the players themselves are creating these memories. They're looking at images, whatever it is. One of the plays that I love was Christian Beal Smith running down the sideline, knocked two defenders on the butt as he was blocking ahead of, I think, what was a swing pass. And I'm like, those are the moments that coaches are going to pull that film up and say, look, man, he absolutely blew him up and ended up going for a big gain. And so that's encouraging. And I think the staff, certainly you have to correct and point out, all right, we got to work on this. We have to improve on this. But when you have tape and when you have proof, not, well, I think we can do this, but when you have legitimate proof, we've done this, that's a whole nother ballgame. That's just a whole nother piece of equipment that just gives you so much confidence. And it is a big boost. And I totally agree with you that the get-right game is what was really needed. And hopefully we can continue that on Thursday. And then getting a few extra days going into Kentucky, I don't think will hurt either. So,
talking with Sawyer Nix, the mental edge, every Tuesday right here. So they came out second half last week, big second half, all that. Quick turnaround this week against another team that's going to come and give a good account of themselves, but probably they don't have the players to hang with Carolina. How do you kind of keep the focus and not, because I almost think moving it up to Thursday is better. Because I don't think complacency can, creep in when you got to have a new sense of urgency to go play a game 48 hours before you were supposed to.
Yeah, I think it's no extra loafing time. We have to take every second that we have of practice and increase things. So part of me wonders how they adjust scheduling. Do they add more practice time? So usually there's whatever the NCAA allows in practice per week. Do they have, because usually they practice in the morning and then they're done. Well, do they call the team back and have a walkthrough at night? I'm not sure how all that works, or do they bottle it and save it and say, well, you're coming in on Saturday and Sunday for Kentucky? I'm not sure how the staff will adjust the time and the hours, but you're right. There's no extra moments to, okay, well, we'll just do a little extra tomorrow if we don't get through this period today, or if we didn't get to rep this package or work on this play from the scout team. No, we have to get it done now. It needs to be done today, right now. So there is that sense of urgency and super focus, that micro focus that will be required of the players and the staff. So it does, you're right. It does require an extra level of focus and sharpness.
Sawyer Nix with the mental edge here on Tuesday. That Georgia game, because we didn't get a chance to review it with you. 48-7 was never close. The Gamecocks weren't in it. And I know the team rebounded last week, but sometimes those type of losses can take your soul away. Now, Oregon's rebounded obviously fine. I think big win for them over the weekend. I think they're 3-1 now, and the Gamecocks seem to, at least in the second half Saturday, rebound a little bit. So sometimes people say that. I've seen a few years back. I remember Vandy was undefeated, right? The great Derek Mason era, and they'd beaten Kansas State and 2 cupcakes, and they're 3-0, and Bama comes to town and beats them 62-0. And they never recovered. I don't think they won another game. But, it does seem like the Gamecocks have recovered. When you get beat like that, how hard is it mentally to get refocused and not let one loss turn into 2, et cetera, et cetera? There's 2 schools of thought. Some people think what's better than losing a close one or blowing a big lead, or others may say, well, this thing could just, tear you apart because you just weren't competitive. What say you about that?
Well, I think they just look at the players. Certainly, there's the overall score and what the overall team did. And there's such a focus on the team that's not lost. But the individual players look at, all right, what did I do to not do my assignment on this play? And when that becomes the focus, then it's like, okay, here's the areas where I need to improve. Instead of this overall, we're just not any good. We got our butt handed to me. It's okay, well, I needed to adjust this. I need to be better at this specific task or this specific item. I didn't do the correct leverage on this play. I took a bad angle on this play. I had the wrong assignment on this play. Whatever it is, it becomes more individualized, and that becomes more of a focus for the players to correct. And it becomes, okay, I can fix this and I can fix that more than, okay, we got our butt handed to us. So I think that's one of the differences that I think as fans, we look overall at the big picture and kind of get lost in the big picture. And the players, they don't forget that. It comes back down to, all right, how do we adjust from that specifically? What do I need to do in my role to help the team? And when that becomes the focus, then that helps everyone. Going back to the 1% mentality. Okay, well, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And you hear the coaching staff saying that. There was a shoestring tackles that happened. It was, all right, we were this close to busting a big run. We were this close to this happening or that happening. And that's what they focus on. One, they focus on that so that they can have confidence that they can improve. So there's the belief. And also there's the confidence that, okay, we were really closer than the score. Because if they keep going back to that score, you're not going to have confidence a whole lot. You're going to hear the naysayers, you're no good. If you get beat that bad, then you might as well hang up for the season, just kind of, don't even try versus other teams. If you can't even score 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns versus Georgia when they're having all these new defensive players, then why are you even going to try the rest of this year? Just chalk it up to a losing year, and then we'll regroup next year. The team they don't do that. They don't believe that.
Throw in the towel.
Yeah, no. This team definitely doesn't do that. And they're very persistent, and they're going to overcome adversity and challenges. And so they definitely see it as a microcosm of a set of plays, a set of mistakes, small things along the way that kind of derailed the overall progress and the overall score of that game.
Queasy has an interesting thing here. He says it wasn't UGA, it was Arkansas. That's the game that cleaned their clock. I'm going to say I agree if you're talking about the defense because Arkansas physically manhandled them. Georgia was a little less of a manhandling. They just couldn't stop them and get off the field. But, Queasy, you got to think about this. The Arkansas game in the third quarter was a 5-point football game, and the Gamecocks stopped them on 4th and 1 and had the ball. And I talk about key moments in games. And that's when you're going to, everybody asks, well, when can the Gamecocks get back to being like they were, if they ever will, under Coach Spurrier? It's too many times the last 10 years, Carolina does good things in a game. In other words, okay, well, they come back and they're up, or they have a lead, and then at a critical moment, it's not complimentary football because the defense will get a stop, and then the offense all of a sudden goes in the tank after a lot of good, successful tries, so it's 3 and out. Or offense goes down the field, cuts it to 7 or whatever, defense needs to stop, and the other team goes right down the field. And that's happened over and over and over again with this program in games they've lost the last couple of years. So I think they got to get tougher in key situations, as Lady Bree points out here. But, the Georgia game, it's a home game. It's a huge crowd. You get beat like that. That kind of reminded me of the 59-0 defeat at the hand of Florida State in 1988 when Deion Sanders was playing for them, and they had a backup quarterback. Carolina 7:30 kickoff ESPN. Those games, not a lot of games are televised. Gamecocks were in the top 15. And Peter Tom Willis, heck of a name, sounds like a children's book character. Peter Tom Willis was filling in for Casey Weldon for Florida State that day, and they beat the dog do out of South Carolina to the point Deion Sanders was like, it's 59-0. And that basically ended that team's season. I mean, they did beat Navy by a small margin, lost to Clemson, wasn't close, and then lost to Indiana in the bowl. So that's why I think Georgia, was one of those things, where I was a little concerned about it. And it may have taken the defense a half to adjust, to Charlotte and what they were doing mentally. But that's that can get you. And then, other times though, Sawyer, I've seen other teams get beat badly and bounce right back. The 2012 Gamecocks got beat by 33 points to Muschamp and the Gators. They didn't lose after that. Clemson in 2013 lost at home to Florida State 51-14. Bounced back. Don't think they lost after that. Ended up beating Ohio. Well, they did lose the Gamecocks, but they didn't. They beat Ohio State in the bowl. So that's really interesting. So, people talk a lot, and we're wrapping up here with Sawyer Nix. It's the middle edge about the mentality of the run game. Like, you got to have a certain mindset to go out and run it successfully. And the Gamecocks did it, in the game Saturday. They hadn't done it all year before that. What kind of, I guess, thought process goes into that to establish that mentality? Because it's all about, I think you gotta think differently in the pass game, because you have to think and do your job. Right. There's a mentality, I think, with linemen, tight ends, receivers, running backs across the board when it comes to the run game.
Yeah, the assignments are somewhat simpler. Here's my assignment. If you're on the offensive line, I don't have to react. I don't have to go into pass, defense. Although there are some run calls, with some of the modern offenses, there are, I guess we don't do a whole lot of run pass options too much, it seems like, compared to previous staffs. But most base run plays that I saw on Saturday were not, they were not the passive pass blocking. It was put your hand in the dirt and plow somebody moving forward. And I think that's the offensive linemen, they love that. That's what they want. They want, all right, here's who I need to knock. I need to knock this person down, or I need to double team this person, shift off this block, move to the next level. And it's very, very 1, 2, 3 steps. Whereas passing is certainly very reactive. And it's like, okay, I got to pick up this guy. What if this guy loops? What if this guy blitzes? What happens if the receiver gets shoved at the line? He gets put off his route. All those come into a factor. And I think also the running back. All right, I know what exactly I have to do on this play. Here are my options. Here's the play call. I can bounce it out if I want to. But I know that I have the confidence to gain the yardage. I trust the offensive line that they're ready to eat. They're ready to knock somebody down. And there's not as much thinking. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, JC, that, it's just an opportunity to take some steps and be the aggressor and take it to somebody, whether it's blocking or carrying the ball and gaining the yards.
Gotcha. All right. Wrapping up with Sawyer Nix here on the middle edge. So the game's in 48 hours, man. I hope you get your logistics figured out, and certainly will be good to have the family there. What say you about this game Thursday night? Now Thursday night.
Yeah, there's I don't even know what the spread is. What's the spread? Is it 20? Is it 20 something?
They don't normally have a spread on
Okay.
FCS opponents. They some online books will have it, but that I think I saw 32 somewhere.
Okay.
But I don't think you usually can't play the FCS games.
Right.
It's
Right.
not available.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't know. I know sometimes it's published, but that you can't necessarily like.
Yeah, so sometimes they have it. So I didn't research it like I should, but I know on my app it wasn't the case.
Okay.
Oh, our Andrew Power said 37.5.
Okay.
He knows.
I don't see them scoring as many points as they did versus Charlotte. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see what the game plan is. Do they use this as a practice opportunity? We need 40 runs, okay? We're getting exactly 40 runs this week. Is it we need to have these certain passing concepts, we're going to work on them? Who knows? I'm not sure what the game plan will be. Hopefully it'll be balanced. It needs to be balanced, both. And I would like to see Doty get in a little bit earlier. I think, the Charlotte game was a little bit slow start. Didn't score a touchdown in the first quarter again. Kind of a disappointment. So I think it's get off to a hot start, and then let's see Doty come in the third quarter rather than the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. And I'd like to see that and get some of the starters rested, give them some extra rest. But we'll see. I think they should do pretty well. I can see them certainly winning by 30. I don't see them scoring another 50. I see it being a little less scoring game. And I don't think the offense for South Carolina State is as good as the offense for Charlotte. So we'll see. Maybe a 45, 14 or 10, something like that. So maybe they do whatever the 30 point is. I think they can certainly do that. But one other thing I wanted to bring up real quick. Last week we didn't get around to 12 years ago. Last week, Ken McKinley passed away, and September is Suicide Prevention Month and Awareness Month, and just wanted to remind all of the listeners that there's a new. It's like 911, but listeners can reach out, watchers, I guess. There's a new. I don't know, emergency number for suicide prevention, and that's really important. It's 988 is the number, and just want to remind listeners and watchers that you're loved, you're cared for, you're created, and have value, and that we want everyone to enjoy the game and continue enjoying Gamecock football for years to come. And so, if you or loved ones are ever having a challenge, certainly call that number, and that is the suicide crisis line, and that would be something good. It's sad. I was kind of going back over that story with McKinley and with OJ Murdoch, and it just kind of broke my heart just reviewing that ESPN story. And for people who haven't read that story, you can kind of Google on ESPN, but it was heartbreaking. And also was thinking about Garnet Thor, Hayden Hurst, 2015 had suicide attempt. So certainly mental health is a big topic, and I think our staff tries to do a good job of taking care of that. But just want the listeners and watchers to be aware of that number, and we want you to enjoy lots of scores and see where the Gamecocks go in the future.
All right, thanks, Sawyer. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, see you next week.
Thanks. The mental edge was Sawyer Nix. Yeah, the McKinley thing was terrible, and OJ Murdoch also was a player in that first Spurrier class that didn't quite do as well as people thought, and unfortunately took his own life. This is something we hear about far too often in today's society. I think just kind of pops up. Talked to a friend yesterday, like her neighbor from when she was a kid. Or their son walked out in front of a train.
Yeah, my daughter has a friend who actually committed suicide at school this year. So it's way too prevalent nowadays. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's not the right way out. And I get that sometimes the weight of the world is on folks. I think especially young folks sometimes, and then you hear about it, and there's a lot of media out there about it, and young people nowadays are exposed to way much more than we were when we were coming up, and it just that's not a solution, man. It's not a solution because everybody's loved. So that's cool with that. That was something we were supposed to talk about last week. That's why I didn't get to it this week because I didn't know if I know it's Suicide Prevention Month, but I didn't know if we were supposed to talk about it then or not. So forgive me for not getting that part out. Certainly, I've had some experience with that in my own family, so it's not a.
It's never an inappropriate conversation.
No, never not. So we appreciate Sawyer bringing that up. And yeah, I remember like it was yesterday, the day Kenny passed. It was unfortunate because we just started the Big Spur, from so that was a big story. It was obviously big news, and we had text alerts we sent out then, Phil, and lo and behold, that night it happened. The text alert glitch. Something happened with the people we were contracting with. There's a third party that sent them out. So it's ended up sending out like 37 text messages saying Kenny had died. And I was like, my goodness. So, that's just kind of, that was just salt in the wound on that. Kenny, I got to know him because he worked for a friend of mine, John, while he was at Carolina. And I have a signed football of his somewhere around here. I'll never, ever let that go. So Kenny McKinley, R.I.P. O.J. Murdoch, R.I.P. Certainly we all love Hayden Hurst, and I'm glad he's still with us. And, again, if you're out there struggling, the number was 988. Get on that line because somebody will help you. I promise. And that goes for all you that listen to this show too. I mean, you're all part of our extended family here. So we certainly, if you're out there struggling, hit up 988, send me an email. I'll answer you if you want to. All right. Hour number 2 of Inside the Gamecocks, the show here on a switch up the schedule Tuesday. We're going to rock and roll with that here in a little bit. More of your questions, more interaction, more talk about the game. Probably should start breaking it down right after these messages on Inside the Gamecocks. If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. Nana'sPorch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting Nana'sPorch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
What's up? This is Jaheim Bell with the Gamecocks, and you're now listening to Inside the Gamecocks show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you much for that, Jaheim. And, of course, the second hour of the show is brought to you by the Burgesson team at RE/MAX by the Lake. For all your commercial real estate needs, give Adam or Derek a call or shoot Adam an email at aburgesson, BERGESON. Shows presented to you by Manscaped. Don't forget, use the code BIGSPUR for 20% off free shipping worldwide at manscaped.com. Appreciate Sawyer Nix coming on for the Mental Edge last hour. And looking ahead for tomorrow, JC, we've got Evan, is it Woodbury, I believe. Big Easy from Tito's.
Yeah, Big E coming on, making his debut on the show.
Right, top of the show.
Top of the show. We'll start off with Big E, and then we got JB, second hour.
On noon, and then we're going to cut it off a little early just due to some scheduling conflicts at 12:30, but hopefully everybody will be there.
Sure. Yeah. And then we have, I guess, maybe we'll move Flint to Thursday now.
I'm trying. I reached out to Michael to see if he could do Thursday at noon, and we'll get with Chris Phillips here after the show to see if we can't get him on too.
Yeah. We'll have a nice little pregame show on Thursday. No show on Friday. I think that'll be a good day for everybody to take off, refocus for Kentucky. Then the next week, I'm going to the Kentucky game. I'm leaving here on Thursday. So we'll have some sort of programming for you on Friday.
Maybe we could pre-record a show.
Yeah, probably no show on Thursday. So that's it there. All right. So Nana's Porch chat box, a lot of good stuff in here. Sandra does have a suggestion, and I'm not going to read it on the air, but I try to do that. I probably need to think about it more often, as far as saying, hey, here's who we're with right now. 76 Gamecock says, so what are some of the strengths and weaknesses of SC State at their level? They've struggled a bit on defense this year in some games. They've only played 3 ball games. They lost to UCF. I think they opened on a Thursday night. It was like 50-10. Came back, beat Bethune-Cookman 33-9. Good defensive game there. And then last week, North Carolina A&T got them 41-27. I think they've got a good offensive scheme. I think Shaquan Davis is one of the best receivers at that level, future NFL guy. I think they come in. They got a physical football team, an athletic football team. My question would be at times their quarterback play. they don't have a guy like the Charlotte kid that's going to sit there and carve you up, but they do have a good scheme. Bennett Swigert, former Gamecock quarterbacks, the OC there. And I think they'll come in and try to play physical and tough. SC State's always got 2 or 3 guys on defense that are really, really good. As you can look in the NFL and see, they produce athletes. So and a lot of those kids are in-state kids. So they're coming in to play the Gamecocks as tough as they can. They've played Clemson quite a few times between the time the Gamecocks played them and now. I think the last time Carolina played them was in 2009, and they won 38-14. It was more competitive than I think Coach Spurrier would have liked. You guys kind of pulled away late, but SC State did pretty good. And they'll bring a bunch of their fans. They've got a proud program, proud tradition. I don't know, unless South Carolina just can't stop the run for whatever reason, which I think everybody's me and Phil are going to pull out whatever remaining hair we both have right here if that happens. I think South Carolina will be able to, given their scheme of things, even with a couple of plays from Davis that he may make, I think South Carolina will be able to have a really good defensive game, and hopefully the offense doesn't come out and sputter around. That would be unfortunate, but that's kind of them long and short. I need to look at them a little more. I know I watched almost all of their bowl game last year in the Heritage Bowl against Heritage Bowl, I think, the HBCU National Championship. And they beat primetime Deion Sanders.
Yeah, that was a great game. They played a heck of a game.
Yeah, beat them pretty good. So, that's kind of the thing there. Spencer says line for the Kentucky game, thinking 13-15 for Kentucky, unfortunately. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see what happens with Kentucky and Ole Miss, folks. Some of you are like way overvaluing a win at Florida. Okay, Florida's 2 plays away from being 0-4. And they won at Florida because Anthony Richardson misfired all over the field. I think he threw 21 incomplete passes in the Swamp.
Yeah, not his best outing.
No, and Kentucky is going to beat you when you do that. That's they're well coached and good. You can't screw up against them. But let's see how they do against Ole Miss. I think some people were looking at that number 7. Now look, they go into Ole Miss and beat them. Yeah, I'll say, it's a 13 or 15 point line, and the Gamecocks better play the best they've ever played under Beamer to go up there and win. But I'm just like not. I don't understand this fear. It's like, some people are like, they're going to lose every other game they play, the Gamecocks. And the Gamecocks have to get better. They can't play like they've been playing. But teams get better or worse. You either get better or you get worse week to week in this sport. And it does. It's never static. Never in college football. So that's good. Doc says something about Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback. Says, dude, sneaky fast running, can spin it, and he's cut down on the picks. He still throws some every now and then, but his running ability, that run he had against Louisville last year, he actually pulled a Marshawn Lloyd, I think, jumped over somebody. Yeah, Will Levis. Yeah. There's a reason he's getting a lot of NFL hype. Just talking to some people that have had Kentucky games this year that I know, their offensive line isn't the same as it was. They lost a lot of players plus Eric Wolford off last year's team. So sometimes they break down in protection like you would not expect them to. They still going to go out and run the ball. Chris Rodriguez is coming back for that game. Kavosky Smoke is excellent, I think. Their defense is good. But it's their linebackers. Their secondary and D-line isn't it may be quite what it has been. Still a really good football team, though, guys. It's Kentucky. We all know how problematic beating Mark Stoops has been over the years. And, with Chris Rodriguez coming back, I think he's still running against the Gamecocks. He just runs and runs and runs all over him. Quantrell has an interesting point. Does Gilbert Edmond remind you of DJ Wanham any? That spin move Saturday for the sack was nice. What an evaluation, DJ, about, okay. That's been, I'm sorry, I got a distracting text message from the dang gym. Okay. And I need to get back to the gym. But I had one of the most clueless people I've ever, like, you would literally tell her something. She was my trainer, and she would like do the opposite, and you're paying her all this money, and it was just very frustrating. So I just got a text. She's no longer there. They're like, come back, please. I'll have to talk to the fiance about that one. But yeah, look, Gilbert Edmond and DJ Wonnum both were excellent in must-champ evaluations. I mean, DJ Wonnum was a 2-star kid committed to Indiana, which kind of tells you how good Indiana evaluates. And Gilbert Edmond had just gotten an offer from South Florida. If you're Jeff Scott, you're probably feeling like, man, missed that one. And then they went in there and flipped him late. And that was T-Rob and Muschamp on that one. So that's pretty good. Spencer, don't think Clayton White has the edge rushers to get pressure with only 4. And then he's afraid to do more because the defensive backfield is so poor. So I didn't think he was afraid the second half, but I think you're onto something. You can't be afraid. You just got to go do it. And if Levis beats you down the field, he beats you down the field. You got Carolina's got to go out and score on Kentucky. On the road, that's easier said than done. The offense absolutely has to go have a good game. That's the best way to beat Kentucky, I think, Phil, is to put points on the board because they're not this big high scoring bunch. They prefer to play games kind of in the 20s. You go out there and they're going up and down the field. I mean, score points, keeps their offense off the field, all that thing.
Yeah, this past weekend kind of reflects that. I mean, they played a really close game.
Against Northern Illinois.
Yeah, because the opponent scored up into the 20s. So I mean, that game was still a game in the fourth quarter. So that's you just got to hope that your offense can execute and get up there. Because if they get an early lead, you know what's coming. They're just going to ground and pound and run the damn clock out.
Yeah, no doubt. Right now, it would be Kentucky minus 11, give or take. Spence says fear, 5-year losing streak. That's not true. There's a 2-year losing streak right now in the series.
Yeah.
Kentucky has passed us. Hard to argue with that until Carolina beats them and gets back to where they were. Can't rush or stop the rush. Well, they did Saturday. I mean, it's not an SEC game. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about here. It's like, guys, teams change. Over that game against Charlotte, it didn't teach us much about, Carolina can score points if they can run the ball. But it doesn't mean it's not a death sentence for the rest of the year, and we'll see how Carolina plays Thursday. But I'm telling you, you watch Kentucky, there's no need to fear this team. I mean, you make them out to be the 85 Bears. They're not. They're very beatable.
And I think the adage, JC, that comes from, the team improves over the first to second week, more drastically than it does any other week is indicative of a time where you're typically playing your 2 cupcakes at the front of your season as teams and not getting hit with, one decent FBS opponent at the beginning, 2 solid SEC programs at the, and then you finally get to a couple of easier games. Those easier games are usually front loaded into the schedule to get your team better. But with the TV landscape the way it is, it's just not the way it is because we're looking for bigger games on every week now.
I remember when the head ball coach was at Florida, every single year, Phil, like clockwork, they would open with like the Sisters of the Poor and then like the Gainesville YMCA.
Right.
Occasionally they'd throw like Wyoming in there. We're playing Wyoming. We ought to beat them by like 7 or 8 touchdowns, right? And sure enough, they beat them and they get their offense in rhythm. And then they'd go to Tennessee or Tennessee come to the Swamp and they'd beat them. And they'd win that game because they were way kind of more ready to get. I mean, they were in tune. Sometimes it takes, and when Spurrier was at South Carolina, he won most of his openers. They won most of the time, but I can't remember. Of course, the Gamecocks would open with like an SE. They would open with Mississippi State or Vanderbilt or a good team, North Carolina, whoever, NC State. And sometimes Spurrier's offense wouldn't click. I mean, in 2009, they beat NC State 7-3 in Raleigh.
3.
The next week, they go to Athens and put 37 on the board. So I think the head ball coach, scheduling wise, he kind of had it made at UF, and then all that. So it's just one of those things. Matt says Clayton Whitehead rarely had the opportunity to coach with a lead. I think our defense looks more comfortable on the rare instances when the offense is scoring. Absolutely right, Matt. It's complimentary football, right?
Yep.
It's disheartening when you're playing defense and you're trying your best to get off the field and the offense goes 3 and out and you got to go back out there over and over and over again. Spencer says, JC, what do you expect us to lead? I mean, we are who we are for the last several years. I'm in show me mode. You are aware, Spence, that South Carolina's only had this coaching staff for 1 season and 4 games. I mean, and I understand that because the Muschamp era was the bottom fell out after probably 2.7 promising years. The bottom fell out.
Yeah, just got the rug pulled out from under you.
Instead of getting better, the bottom fell out, and I get that. And it's and you know, with the struggles on offense under this staff, you kind of feel the same way. Here we go again with offense. But you have to kind of compartmentalize that and realize, like, look, this is this staff. Will Muschamp, none of his assistants are even there anymore. You've got a couple of off the field guys. That's it. It's a new staff, so you got to judge them for what they've done. You know, and not get in show me. If you want to get in show me mode over this staff after 17 games, I'm fine with that. Look, I'm in show me mode about the offense myself. But, you know, to kind of just throw the whole thing out, I mean, you know, that's not fair to these guys. You know, it's up to you whether you want to do it, but I don't, you know, I don't see you know, look, judge this team for how this team plays and this staff for how this staff's coached. Forget about 2020, forget about 2019 and the end of 2018. Those were tough times. Obviously, it's been a tough, long 10 years. People are sick of it. I get it. But Shane Beamer and his staff can't do anything about anything but right now and the future. You know, so that's how I would say with that. Thank you. It just feels like JC and Phil are like the Iraqi minister to visitor the first war. That's not true. That's crap too. I mean, that's not. I mean, I'm just calling it like it is, and that's reality. And you can get off track with reality positively and negatively. You know, I think it's absolutely stupid to sit here and talk about 5-year losing streaks when you don't even know. You don't even know that they beat them 2 years ago. Then why are you even commenting? You know, I think it's absolutely stupid to lump the failures of the previous coaching staff in with this coaching staff. I understand the feeling because of the fans, but don't try to like sit here and tell me and Phil that we're spinning anything.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not coming at you with a Pollyanna viewpoint here, you know, saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to roll into Kentucky, you know, Kentucky and just kill them." But you know, I mean, there's no need in getting depressed about a game that hasn't even kicked off yet. So might as well go into it with a positive mindset.
Well, I'll tell you what else is stupid. Well, I'm not going to say stupid. I think it's fact free. All right. Like the facts are football teams go up and down in college. They get better or they get worse. Could they get worse? Absolutely. You know, that would really be a shame because there's really good players on this football team. There's no excuse for some of the things that happened the first 3 games and really in the first half the other day. Okay. That's the bottom line. But teams are either getting better or they're getting worse. And you can't sit there and go, oh my God, you know, 3 games in, not going to beat anybody. Oh my God, Muschamp. Oh my God, this, oh my God, that. That's not rational thought. I mean, I understand that you're feeling, and I can relate to the feeling, but this isn't about your feelings. You know, I mean, it's not about your feelings. I don't care about your feelings, Spence. Spence has been communicating with me on radio shows since 2007 when I was in Columbia. So he and I speak with each other very plainly, and I appreciate that. Andrew says, if Rattler plays like he has for the rest of the season, do you think he leaves the NFL, comes back, or transfers? I would say probably he wouldn't be at South Carolina would be my speculation. I don't know if he goes to the NFL or would take another transfer. The facts are what they are. The program has the same amount of wins through 17 games, but don't worry about fact. The PowerPoint has you convinced. 6 plus 2, or wait a minute, they were 8-8. They came back, barely beat Louisiana Tech. You're right. They were 9-8. You know, I thought last year they did good to eke out 7. I think this year, you know, you kind of got to look at who they played. It certainly has not been as good of a start to year 2 as Will Muschamp. But Spence, let's talk about these facts, okay, since we're going to get into facts. Year 2 under Lou Holtz was what compared to year 2 under Steve Spurrier? Year 2 under Lou Holtz was a 4-0 start and a ranking in the top 15 and a 8-win season for the first time, one of the greatest turnarounds in history. Spurrier had to kind of get that 06 team better and put Savell Newton in. They got shut out at home by Georgia. They struggled against Wofford. I mean, you know, you want to go game by game. You know, I think every situation's different, but you're right. They are 9-8. So, you know, I would just wait till it plays out. You know, I mean, I don't see the point. You know, they just got a big win. So you're going to crap all over that because your feelings, you're like, oh my God, my feelings could not let me forget this game. I can't forget the Georgia State game, Phil. I just can't quit it.
Let it go.
Oh, Spence, come on, buddy. I love you, Spence. He goes JC or BROs. All good. I think the facts support me and my dim outlook. Love you, JC. You know, Doc says, I base my evaluation on the current staff. This is the 7th head coach I've seen. They have to get their staffs right to take a season or 2, I believe, in Beamer. Look, I can't. I understand. Yeah, you got to get your staff right, and every coach that's been through here or anywhere has to make changes. I mean, the one exception, I think, notably would be Nick Saban at Alabama. He's rarely had to fire anybody, but you know, he basically went and got the band back together with like Kirby Smart and Lance Thompson and Burton Burns and those cats. And, you know, I don't know, you know, he didn't have to like shuffle the deck, but he just by attrition and people leaving for other jobs. A lot of his guys go back to the NFL or whatever, but
that's team's first shot too, JC. I mean, this is it. We got to bear that in mind. This is his first time assembling a staff, so we don't know how he's going to respond. You know, and I think it's more than reasonable to give him 2 years to evaluate. Now, if we finish this year in a disappointing manner, you know, even if that looks like, you know, 5-7 or 6-6, and we, you know, barely eke one out and weren't very competitive in some of those games at the end of the year, and he doesn't make any changes, all right, it's time to look. You know, this guy might have some management issues that we need to deal with. But mid-season, second year, guys have the job for a year and a half. That, you know, I'm waiting and see. Yeah, on production, that's definitely the case. But I'm not ready to say, oh, woe is me, and the rest of the season's going to be terrible because look what happened. You look at Muschamp, that was his second go round, and then he failed miserably.
Really, his sixth year of coaching. I get it. And like, look, the Muschamp staff, I think, it ended up when all is said and done. You look at the guys that are on staff; they're all good coaches. Some of them are at Alabama now. How about that? I think what you could question with him, and this was kind of his tragic downfall, was were they in the right spots? Was T-Rob really a defensive coordinator? Was when he promoted McClendon, was that the right move? It certainly wasn't the right move hiring Kurt Roper. By the time you got to Bobo, the pandemic hits and things are crazy. You know, so I think that's fair to kind of assess. So I don't know. Kreger, my boy, says, and by the way, guys, just again, Spencer has been like, we've been getting on each other's nerves on the air for 15 years, right? He tunes in all the time. He's a great fan. He's just kind of he's got this different outlook and tries to kind of stir things up. So don't think I'm mad at him or anything like that. A good guy. And he says he's got a great day off, got to jump. Craig says the excitement was just so high all summer. We thought this offense would come out swinging. It's been a tough schedule for us to start great on offense. The fans have to reassess. Just thought we'd be further along. Maybe we expected too much too soon. I'm all in for Beamer being here for 15 years. Not if he doesn't fix the offense, though.
I mean, yeah, you don't keep a guy just because you like him. You know, I mean, you're going to have to produce, but I don't think we can consider what have we played? 15 games? 16?
17.
Yeah, 17. That's not a body of work.
No, it's not. But I'll say this. You know, there are disturbing trends with the offense.
Yeah,
and
I mean, admittedly, yeah.
You know, I mean, look, hey, Carolina goes out and somehow can't run the ball against SC State, which would be sad. But Spencer throws for 485 yards and they win 56-3 anyway. I'd feel maybe a little bit better. Just sounds nuts to say, but I'd feel a little bit better. But, you know, you look at this offense and I think, Phil, what we've been saying is true. It's unless they've been able to run the ball, I mean, almost at will. I'm not talking about scratching out 150 yards or whatever, like you have to do sometimes to win in the SEC. I'm talking about unbelievably good rushing games.
Mm-hmm.
The offense doesn't work. And I think most offenses, if you're running it at will, I mean, you can line up in whatever you want and run whatever the hell you want. I mean, so yeah, I'm very concerned about the offense. And, you know, I've been very clear about that. And I'm not trying to come down on anybody just because, you know, Spencer called me out or whatever. That's just how it is. Anybody that's followed my work and listened to me or read what I've written knows I'm not, you know, I've got a lot of questions. I'm not a huge fan of, you know, hearing about the NFL every time you turn around, you know, and the Rams and all that crap. I'm just, you know, I've seen this movie before in college ball when some of these guys try to do it. Kurt Roper arguably had the same problems. Kurt Roper, if he'd have just called the Cutcliffe offense at South Carolina, I think he'd have probably had a little more success. He wasn't that good at calling it on game day, but he went to the Browns for a year and learned all this NFL stuff and tried to implement it. And, you know, they tried, you know, Jake Bentley in 2017 as a second-year player, they tried to make him into Peyton Manning and put a ton on him, you know, and all that. And, you know, I think sometimes you have to understand your personnel and what works and understand that, like, look, Spencer Rattler, you know, these were his weaknesses last year. These are his strengths. You know, I know you kind of sold him on coming here and learning how they do it in the league. And you can have some of that, but you got to make sure he's comfortable. I mean, good coaches put great players in position to succeed. Bad coaches only care about their system.
Yep.
And there are exceptions to that, like Mike Leach and Spurrier and all that, because their systems are they're system coaches and they're good. But there's no track record of a system here, you know, with Satterfield. You know, he does different things here, there, and yonder, and there's no track record of success. You know, the best offense I think they had at Temple was in the 70s. So that's the difference. And you know, the hope is they figure it out, right? The hope is maybe they've just played good teams. The hope is this, that. There's a lot of hope, but I mean, it's just that it's hope right now. So
yeah.
That's
but I mean, you don't make an evaluation beating Charlotte or SC State, you know.
Yeah. But I'll say this: it means way more to the players. Like where that blowout win or these blowout wins will help. It's not so much like, oh, is the team good or not, or oh, this is, you know, it's confidence for your players because a lot of this game, as we talked about with Sawyer, is mental, right?
Yeah. It's like when Beamer speaks, he's not talking to you. You know,
he's trying to stay positive.
He's talking to the team, you know, because you don't want to lose the team in the locker room. And sometimes you got to, you know, look at it from a positive bent as opposed to, you know, going negative all the time. But I doubt that he's in there behind closed doors being all sunshine and rainbows. Come on, y'all.
Oh, I will guarantee you
win football games.
I will guarantee you he's not. Okay. I'll just let you know right now he's not. So that's the deal there. All right, we're going to be back. Going to catch up on the I Help Consulting mailbag. We've got quite a few questions there, and more of your chats and conversation. Once again, South Carolina State game rescheduled 7 p.m. on Thursday night. Waiting on the TV network. I can't imagine it's not going to be on TV. So we'll see kind of how that goes. All right, last break of the show. We'll be back after these messages.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, hour on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. Nana'sPorch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting Nana'sPorch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man.
Welcome back, everybody. Remember, support for Inside the Gamecocks, the show, is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene. Join over 5 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code BIGSPUR at manscaped.com. Of course, the Performance Package has arrived, and we really like it. JC and I both have it. Inside the package, you will find a Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear, nose, and I almost said ear, nose, and throat. That would be JC. Yeah,
my throat is hairy.
I know. I'm thinking about fall seasonal allergies right now, so I got ENT on the brain. Crop preserver, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and of course that nice clean bag to keep all your goodies in. And also they've got some other stuff too, JC. They've got like a foot powder. They make a nice little razor there for your face as well that you can order. Yeah. But remember, y'all get 20% off with free shipping with the code BIGSPUR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code BIGSPUR to unlock your confidence, and always use the right tools for the right job with Manscaped.
Thank you, Phil. All right, iHelp Consulting mailbag. One tweet. You can get in the mailbag two ways. You tweet to @theBigSpurPod, or you can email insidethegamecocks@gmail.com. This came in from your boy Ross. Definitely a much-needed tune-up game. Great seeing Lloyd have a night. Still a few things I'd like to see tighten up on this, but at least Sat didn't call this one like a scrimmage. As always, go Cox. Yeah, I thought the passing game was efficient. Rattler missed a couple of passes here and there, but it was obviously going to be a game where Carolina lined up and run the football. And look, I know I'm sitting here going, well, offense hadn't worked unless you can run it a bunch. And, that's not realistic all the time in the SEC, and that's true. But if they can get that going, against the teams on their schedule left, then more power to them. I mean, that's only going to help Spencer Rattler. That's only going to help the play calling. When you can run the football, that means everything. Maybe this. I mean, sometimes offensive lines take a little while to gel. We saw that a lot during the Spurrier era, especially the early on Spurrier era. And so maybe that's the case. I mean, I can't rule it out. I have my doubts still, because until it happens, it's not going to happen. But if Carolina can run the football against all the teams left on their schedule, they're going to probably be pretty successful scoring points, in my opinion. So there's that. All right, inside the Gamecocks @gmail.com. And Phil, I think
let's see, we
got Jerome. Okay, here we go. Yeah, go ahead and rock that one.
Oh, yeah, we talked a little bit about this, but Jerome, got a question for you regarding SR7. Of course, that's Rattler. If South Carolina goes 6-6 and becomes bowl eligible, will he or should he come back in 2023? Go 5-7 and not bowl eligible, what do you do? Is there even a bar established for this season that would influence those propositions above? Let's see. He's got a lot of stuff in here.
All right, I'll answer this. I don't think
a piece at a time. Yeah,
I don't think Carolina's record is dependent on what his decision is. Like, in other words, let's say South Carolina had a lot of games like the Arkansas game this year, where he was lighting, putting up big numbers, with a lot of highlights. I think he'd definitely go. I'd be very surprised if Spencer Rattler came back next year, not because he doesn't like it or it was a predetermined one and done. It's just, he's a guy that number one, I think he'll play. He'll do some really good things moving forward. Mm-hmm. I still have that faith. If not, there's something horribly wrong, and it's not his fault. The second part, and look, before everybody goes, Luke Doty's better. That's not true. And I'm a big Luke Doty guy. Everybody seems to call for the backup. Luke Doty, last year, everybody just trashed him over and over again. He's gotten better, like players do. Luke, you got to be excited about what he can do in the future. You make a decision to play him because of his wheels or his running ability. That's fine too. But I don't see that happening. And keep in mind, Luke's just played in mop-up duty. He hasn't been out there when the game's on the line. So just kind of chill with that. But could you make a case, Jerome, for Spencer Rattler coming back next year, not with the same offense? I'll say that. Now, let's say things don't go well. There's a new OC that comes in. It's kind of a modern, exciting college-style offense where Rattler can go out there and put up numbers. Or that's the you guys know what I'm saying about that. Then maybe there's a slight chance, but I don't see it.
Yeah, and the next level is an individual proposition, JC. It doesn't have anything to do with your team record. If you're good, you go, and if you're not, you don't.
Yeah, period. Spencer Rattler's the best thing to happen to Columbia since Russia's enlisted DoorDash options. That's actually a game changer. Russia's being on DoorDash.
Nice.
Next time I am in Columbia, I'm going to remember that. Man, Russia's is so good. It's so good. And he says Spencer has a lot to prove. He does.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But I thought even he took a little bit of a step forward. He played within himself, didn't force a lot, did miss some guys. But look, quarterbacks are going to miss sometimes open receivers, and sometimes they look open and they're not. Right. I've said that before. But I thought he's very efficient the other night. And you know what, I've liked to have seen them, air it out and go deep a few times. Yeah, but they probably weren't playing, the right defense or whatever. Hopefully, who knows? So that's that. Joseph, really good Spartanburg guy here. Joseph. He says, in basketball, our team would press after made free throws and at the start of quarters and push the ball fast break after the opponent missed free throws. We were able to get some easy points and turnovers by varying the tempo throughout the game. Vintage Spurrier would take a shot after sudden change turnovers. Yeah, Brian McClendon did that one time too, and it worked. He did it in the Outback Bowl, if you remember. Clemson typically tries to score at the end of the half, and we don't ever seem to do that. Phil, one thing I've noticed about Clemson since the Tommy Bowden era, they will do that. They are the end of the half. They're really dangerous.
Yeah, they're hot.
They will sit there and they will have done nothing the whole half. Get the ball, maybe a 7-7 game or a 10-7 game, and they're playing Duke or somebody. And then they march you down the field in 4 plays and score 17-7, and they'll get the ball the second half 24-7. That's ball game. Now, Spurrier didn't necessarily try to go up and down the field with a minute to go, but I think that's a good idea. There is a school of thought that says if you go out and try and chunk it on down the field, you can throw a pick or something, and then you're out of it, and then it makes it even worse. But the quick strike after a sudden change is always great because it's a mental thing for the defense. He says, and he goes on to say, I would love to go quick game after long pass plays and runs when you have the defense on their heels. Yes. Also, after every turnover and score, I would try a surprise onside kick. It depends on what moment you are in the game. You don't want to be like Nebraska.
Yeah, depends on your opponent. Yeah, you get somebody who can, flip it right back on you.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Thoughts on all of this, Joseph?
I thought, the 2-minute drive at the end of the first half in this game was a positive change. We got points. We moved it down the field. Even though it was only a field goal, still happy with that. You got points going into halftime. I did think we left an opportunity when we got the turnover in plus territory to take a shot. But we were running the football in this game, so it was like, okay, I kind of get it, and we're winning, and all of this, but still, is that shades of the dogmatic adherence to script, or is that we don't really need it,
a dogmatic adherence to script.
I'm telling you, if Satterfield goes down, that's going to be the reason ultimately. Like, it will all go back to that. It was like, it was my plan, my precious plan.
My precious plan. My precious plan. Caroline is in the TV. Anyway, little Poltergeist reference there. One more question from the mailbag today here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Don't forget tomorrow we will have Evan Woodbury from Tito's and Chicken podcast on, and then Jamie Bradford will join us. Show ends at 12:30. We'll have kind of a pregame show on Thursday with the schedule change. No show on Friday, and then we'll talk about next week. Eric says, hey, JC, a little off topic, but I checked the Georgia Tech hot board and saw they have Bill Clark on there. Do you know why he retired? Yeah, he had some bad back problems. And I've been fortunate, Phil. I haven't had any back problems as I've gotten older, but I know some people that have. It is a pain in the backside. I mean, it's debilitating, and when you're coaching and up and walking around and all that, I mean, Mike Krzyzewski had back issues. You remember?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I had to sit out a year and stuff. It's very, very painful.
I think it did Larry Bird in.
Yeah, that was it. Tiger Woods too.
Yep.
To a certain extent, and Clark isn't that old. Blows my mind. He never got a bigger job. He kind of put his life's work into UAB. Do you think Auburn? I mean, now you look at it with the health issues and the retirement, that would have not been good. But do you think Auburn would have rather had Bill Clark than Brian Harsin? I think that. Hold on, let me check. Hello. My caller ID says the Looney Bin. That's Auburn, Alabama, by the way. You pick up the phone. Hey, Bill Clark. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Yellowwood guy signed off on it. Great. Okay. So, Clark was good. Never did anything as a head coach but win. A good hire if they could pull it off. He won. And guess what? They canceled his program, and then he came back and won some more. And it's UAB. I'm actually kind of happy in a certain way that – I wasn't happy because you always want to see one more game when the season ends. But in 2020, when they canceled the Gasparilla Bowl, Carolina was supposed to play UAB down there. Ooh.
Yep.
That team against that UAB team probably wouldn't have been pretty.
Yeah, it might got ugly.
Well, God, that would have not been good down at Raymond James Stadium in front of 10 awesome people. Ed says hope is not a method.
No, it's not. Yeah,
Shawshank Redemption,
and it is a results business.
Chancey said, "What I saw from Moore and Wanamaker on Saturday, I'd keep those guys in and see how they do next week." I agree. I like that. I actually like the way they played. Really do. They kind of rotated them in and out. Jared says, "Is Kentucky the most important game remaining on the schedule, or is it securing wins against Vandy and Missouri to show true progress? We need to get back to winning games like this year in and year out." I think Kentucky, Missouri, Vandy, Tennessee, the teams in Florida, the teams in the East, as long as there is an East, which there won't be for very much longer, you need to beat the East. South Carolina at one point, not too long ago, they may not have won the East but once, but they were the best team overall in that division for about 2 or 3 years, because they beat everybody else. They just had unlucky matchups against the West, and then 1 year they lost to Tennessee. It sucks. Sugar Ray, it seems the run game is critical to Sat's play calling. Play action works if we can run it effectively. Seems Sat may be stubborn and can't adjust. We shall see against UK. I think the whole issue is again the balance. You can't just, if you're not able to run it at will, and there's a difference between being able to run the ball and being able to run it at will. Mm-hmm. You got to have that because you got to keep them off balance. You can't just you get one dimensional in one series in one way, and then you're one dimensional another. I think that's the problem. There's no rhythm to it. There's a rhythm. There's an art form to calling plays. The best ones do that. Doc says it's a results business. Period. I'm not arguing that. I think hope is something though that's not. Not something you should just dismiss. What's Steve Spurrier always say? If since we're talking about him, hopefully, he's like, I don't use the word we are. I use the word hopefully. Hopefully. You got to have hope. Kentucky's the most important, 76 says, because it's the next game. True. Doc says we can really have a good season and still believe they can do or not do. No try, Yoda says, and he is the man. Do or not do. Yoda.
There is no try.
He's a small green creature. He is.
Or small green creature.
But you poor Yoda. Do you like baby? My brother kind of talks like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. He's a pilot too. So if you ever get in a plane, you say, "Here, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Get off." Nah, he's a hell of a pilot. But one day he's just like sitting there. We're driving him somewhere, and he's like, "Do you like Baby Yoda?" Yeah. Hunter says, with that being said, he's like, no hate on Luke, but the ball looks like it's thrown in slow motion compared to Rattler. Really tired of seeing noodle arms under center force. Now, Sonder, he's not a noodle arm, bud. He's just not, doesn't have the velocity Spencer Rattler does, but not many people in the country do. Mm-hmm. He says, with that being said, Reno looks like he could seriously spin it. He does. Very strong arm. As Saunders says, can DoorDash bring the Rush's parking lot to you. And then he says, Spurrier was the king of momentum shots. I miss it so much. The DoorDash parking lot reference, everybody on the Big Spur, when it's time for them to fight, they say, meet me at Rush's on Garner's Ferry. Kreger talks about the back. He says, I have a horrible back. Wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's awful.
Yeah, it's no fun having a bad back.
You got to have the back to stay. Hey, I'm going to say something obvious like John Madden, Yeah, you got to have a bad back or, to stand up or else you'll fall down. Boom. I can't do a Madden. That's Frank Kelly. But Clint says he really likes Reno. I hope this offense gets much better so he doesn't have to start looking around. With him, all right, so he's still all in. The corner from Cincinnati got offered by Notre Dame the other day. That concerns me just because Notre Dame has a big history at that high school in Cincinnati. A Notre Dame type of offer for a kid from the Northeast. Look out for that.
Yeah, that's
of course, Tommy Reese, their offensive coordinator, mouthing, do your effing job. Do your effing job. Do your effing job. And then they asked him what it was about. They're like, he apologized, but that was kind of a funny viral moment. What's up with people catching like press box tantrums now? Ken Dorsey from the Bills.
Man, that Bills one was an atomic blow up.
Yeah, that's Ken Dorsey that used to play quarterback for Miami. Yep. What a hothead, dude. The Bills have a chance, I think, to win the Super Bowl this year, by the way.
I think that was what was so frustrating, too, is like they had a day all around the Heat down there in Miami.
Terrible, yeah.
A division loss to a team that's actually looking pretty good.
The Dolphins do look good this year. Darius Rucker's happy about that. But it's interesting because they say Dorsey is sort of a hothead. I've never seen a great offensive coordinator that's a hothead. Most of them are like Brian Daboll, who was the OC last year. Very, very low key. Now, defensive coaches, and I mean, you coach any other position, you could show your butt. I mean, that's fine. I've just never seen a good OC that's not calm, cool, and collected. And before somebody says Steve Spurrier, when he was dialing up plays, look at him. Now, he may get frustrated and throw his visor afterwards, but he's not out there yelling and all that. By the way, the corner from Cincy is a guy named Carson Hobbs. He's from Cincinnati Moeller, which, of course, former Notre Dame coach Gary Faust, who got fired, but who everybody liked. Notre Dame, yes, once upon a time, Notre Dame hired a high school coach. He came from Moeller, if I'm not mistaken. So that's Archbishop Moeller is like, that's a big deal for kids that go to that school. So I'd be a little concerned. Who in the heck has him as a mid? I wonder if this Notre Dame, he's a mid 3-star, right? I wonder if this Notre Dame offer is going to change things. South Carolina, Kentucky, Notre Dame have offered.
So is there a Notre Dame bump these days?
I don't know. Probably so.
Yeah, but, likely. What is he, a 24 kid?
Yeah, 2024. So that's that. There's 2 2024 commits right now. Hobbs was just a guy that came and camped and he loved it, so he stuck with it, or so he committed. So we'll see if that sticks. Clint says, all right, Jared says, what happens at the end of the season when Satterfield's contract expires? How does that impact our quarterback room? Well, it just depends on what happens, man. I mean, I don't know. There's something that his pitch to recruits is actually really good. And the guy can recruit really well, which means he can relate to his players pretty well. There was some talk last year that I think people got it confused. There were some reports of toxicity or whatever on the staff. And they had a meeting and worked it out, right, before the bowl. But the toxicity was never about the players. There was never any, like, verbal abuse to players or anything like that. Sat gets along with his players pretty well. His players like him. I just think in games sometimes, maybe what happens in practice doesn't happen in the games, and that's part of it. You got to take it from the practice field to the arena, and we'll see what happens. Craig was talking about Carson. He says, thought you meant someone new. No, nobody new from Cincinnati. But I think Hobbs is going to end up being a heck of a pickup, and Carolina's going to have to fight like crazy to keep him in the mix.
Yeah, good thing you were in on it early.
Yeah, the stronger, longer theory. There's more. Viagra probably has that theory when they're talking about their product as well. Is that next, by the way, after Manscaped's gun? Viagra?
We're gonna move on to hymns.
Hymns, stronger, longer, baby. Woo! Oh man. Well, guys, it's been another fun show. Again, I don't know. I don't know that I had my best show today. Spence came in and needled me. That happened. That hadn't happened in 14 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. The first couple of ones, I was like, "Who the hell is?" I'm like, "Oh, I know who this is."
Yeah, I used to do that. Someday Spence would be the only person that called or emailed the show in Columbia. That's why I like this much better because we have plenty of interaction. You'd be in the summertime, man. It'd be July. Corey Miller was a great co-host of mine. We had a show called The Box, but sometimes Corey's schedule would, get in the way, and it was like 10 minutes before a 3-hour show, not a 2-hour show. And then we'd, he'd call 10 minutes before, would have to back out. It's July in Columbia, South Carolina. It's 2008. You're just going to talk the Gamecocks to death. Brutal for 3 hours, not 2. Corey was there most of the time, but some of those days, Spence would be the only guy that would, interact. So I'd get all fired up and stuff. But anyway, we appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Don't forget tomorrow. It's a great show because we've got Jamie Bradford and Evan Woodbury from the Tito's and Chicken podcast makes his debut on Inside the Gamecocks show. Don't forget, it'll be up in podcast format. This one will be up here in an hour or so on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, also on YouTube if you want to get it. And I'm recording a JC and Morgan here in 30 minutes with Mike and Michael. So if you like that college football podcast, be sure to check out JC and Morgan College Football Podcast wherever you can find podcasts. We're going to probably start streaming that at some point, by the way. Nice. More details on that later. All right, for Phil Mullinax, it's JC Sherbert. This has been Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Hump Day.